in a town
Stellar.
called Snohomish. Yep.
Beautiful. Well, it looks so pretty and lush behind you.
It is very green. That is because it rains most of the year. Not right now, but yeah.
I know the weather's probably beautiful there right now. It's perfect, right?
It's perfect. Yeah. We had that brief, crazy heat wave, which came after your heat wave. But we all survived that well, I survived that. And here we are now. It's like high 70s, low 80s, like just rolling along like that for the next however long, few months.
So perfect. So we have 4 people watching, and I see Craig is on there. Hey, Craig.
Hi, Craig.
So we have our divine masculines present. So divine masculines, please do hold space. That's what it's a wonderful, having Mary Magdalene on the show and Annalisa. It is all about that energy of, the sacred union too, which is another podcast. We're not talking about that today specifically, but we will. And I'm going to light this beautiful, I bought this new Japanese incense. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm just kind of doing small talk to kind of give people a minute to come on. But this is a pomegranate incense. And, pomegranate is also sacred to the goddess and particularly associated with Persephone, right? And so we're going to light some incense as we get this podcast party started. And hi, Martina. Nice to see you. And hi, Shelly. Nice to see you. And this incense is for all of us.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Yay. Yeah, we're going to do all the formalities in a minute. So I'm sure everybody's used to me and how I roll, which is like, we're the goddesses.
Like super flowy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I really I have one red candle left in my magical box of candles. So we're going to, because this is sacred, we are going to create sacred space here. This is not just an interview, an ordinary interview. This is an interview, and then we're calling in Mary Magdalene. So in honor and in calling of beautiful goddess Mary Magdalene, and just in so much gratitude to you, Annalisa, for being here today and for gracing us with your knowledge and your wisdom and the power that you hold to model for women how to embody the goddess, through your beautiful work. So
thank you, Chris.
My pleasure. All right, so I'm going to do this little melting the bottom of the candle thing, and got this little seashell here. See if I can get it to stick. It burns. There we go.
Bringing in the Venusian energy as well.
Yes, we are. Okay. And Colleen's here. Hi, Colleen. She's saying hi, Annalisa.
Hi.
And Martinez is flowy yet grounded. Yes. And Pat Schneider, also known as Peaches. She's here. She says hello. And Craig, of course, we've always had a free spirit vibe. And nice to meet and see you, Annalisa. That's from Craig. Okay, guys, thank you. So we're going to start. So welcome to, I think this is episode 6 of Luminous Goddess Podcast. I'm Chris Seraphine, if you don't know me. And I am the founder of Goddess Illuminated. I am a marketing copywriter. I'm an archetypal brand strategist. I do obviously channel the sacred feminine amongst many other things. And I could go on, but we're not necessarily here to hear about me. We want to hear about beautiful Anna. I'm like, which way do I move my hands? So Annalisa Derr is the founder of Journey to the Goddess TV. She is a ritual theater creatrix, a wise woman scholar who I just adore. She's going to Pacifica Graduate Institute, finishing up her PhD and her dissertation. I don't know what that's like. Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, Martina, she knows what that's about too, as well. And Annalisa's PhD, and her dissertation is all about Mary Magdalene. So, what's the title of your dissertation in progress?
Well, actually, I decided I was originally had planned to do my dissertation on Mary Magdalene, and I was going to create a ritual performance. And then what happened was she was like, "I'm going to take you deeper into the experience of what it means to be a woman, and help you heal the wounds that have been projected onto me, and you know all other women." And so through that, she took me on a journey into menstruation. So right now, the working title of my dissertation is Healing the Myth of Menstrual Danger, in which I, at the end, create a new menstrual myth using the descent of Inanna as a template.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I love it. So, you know, your work, and Annalisa also interviewed me around, how I do my archetypal goddess work in business and branding. And so I will, send you to her channel. I'll put all the links up there. And she really tirelessly interviews and studies and kind of scours the world and the networks for goddess scholars, goddess other people who embody goddess energy, who have a platform around goddess energy. So she really supports so many people, and I just want to add that in there. She is a beautiful ritualist, and she has studied theater, and I imagine voice and dance and all other various performance modalities. She's uber talented, amazing communicator, writer. I cannot sing your praises enough, and
Thank you.
we're all really blessed to have you. So, okay, where do we begin? So I thought what we would do today is I would, have Annalisa tell the story of Mary Magdalene, particularly around a specific myth around resurrection. And then what we'll do is we'll go into a channeling. So I'm going to channel Mary Magdalene and see what she has to say to Annalisa, and see, what they want to say to each other. And if you guys have questions, then you could send those through. And then after that, we'll just do a little bit about what Annalisa is working on now, and again, how you can find her online and get to know her work more, which is well worth your time.
Awesome.
Okay, so the stories of Mary Magdalene, there's so many, and so we had to choose one. And we might, Annalisa, if you go off into tangents, go for it.
I am a Gemini, so I do that often.
My Gemini moon, so I'm there with you.
I know.
So tell us about your creation of the, I think it was the Magdalene Has Risen, or She Has Risen. It was a beautiful performance video that you did in front of the Vatican. And it was really a ritual enactment of the story of the red egg. And would you please tell us maybe a little bit of a background about that particular piece of work you've done, and then tell us the story too to go along with it?
Yes, I'd love to. So part of my doctoral process. Oh, Chris has disappeared. I think I will keep going.
Only temporarily. I just want to put you on the full screen.
Oh, okay.
Give you the full stage.
Okay, awesome.
They don't want to see me right now.
Awesome. Okay, I can handle that.
Sure.
So basically, I decided as part of my doctoral process that I was going to start experimenting with menstrual blood in performance. And I discovered this way of remythologizing goddess stories and goddess mythologies to center feminine power in stories that I believed really originated with goddess-centered symbols and mythologies. But then over time, a lot more of the kind of male principles kind of usurped some of the older goddess symbolisms. So that's kind of the foundation behind this particular story that I'm going to talk about. So in the Eastern Orthodox tradition of Easter, there's a legend, a story, that Mary Magdalene, after the resurrection, she traveled to Rome and she was preaching the word of Jesus Christ's resurrection. And she had the ear of the Emperor Tiberius, and she was telling him the story, and he was just like, no way, no, there is no possible way a man could do that. And she was like, it's true. I promise you, if this egg in my hand turns red, then it's true. And in that moment, the egg in her hand turned red. Okay, so super simple story. This is also the origin of why we dye Easter eggs, apparently. And so, what I saw in that story, again, was this ancient goddess symbolism in Neolithic, Old Europe, and in the kind of Levant area, where the stories of Jesus and Mary Magdalene originate. Thousands of years prior, these were goddess worshiping cultures. And there's this concept that the goddess in old Eurasia was a symbol of the life cycles, and that she embodied all of these principles, especially the death rebirth continuum that eventually became, in a way, demonized in our culture, or if not demonized, then kind of suppressed. There's this fear of death, and this and the power that the goddess um, had within her to be the source of death and life was taken from her. And in many of the mythologies in that region, it was given to the male gods. And so, what I saw in this story was Jesus's bodily death and rebirth actually was due to Mary Magdalene as this representative of this goddess symbolism. And so I point out in this story three main symbols that kind of back up what I'm trying to say. And the first is the symbol of the egg. So the egg, in many mythologies, Orphism, for example, the egg is kind of a symbol of the cosmos and life being born from the egg, right? And then now we know, because of modern science and the discovery of the ovum, we know that life does come from the union of the egg and a woman's egg and a male's sperm. Okay, so the fact that she holds the egg in her hand is one clue in my mind that this is goddess symbolism and that she represents the goddess symbolism. The second clue is the color red. So again, like red symbolism, red color, especially as it's used in red ochre and some other pigments, is like a super, super, super ancient color in rituals, in cave art. I mean, it goes back as far as 100,000 years in cave art. We find it in grave sites, on artifacts. And some people, like the archaeomythologist Marie Gimbutas, have come to associate that not only with the power of blood, like the life force, because blood has this dual symbolism again of life and death, right? Because we are alive because we bleed. The ancient Greeks, like they said that the difference between the mortals and the immortals were the fact that human beings have blood and the immortals don't. So it's a sign of our aliveness, but it's also, when it leaves the body, a sign of death. So Maria Gimbutas, where she saw the placement of these red colors, she really believed that this symbolized woman's blood, female blood, the birth fluids and the menstrual fluids. And then menstruation and these birth fluids carry within them the dual symbolism of death and rebirth, death and regeneration. And that's part specifically is where I go with my dissertation. And so the fact, again, that this egg turns red in Mary Magdalene's hand is a symbol that she embodies this goddess symbolism of death and rebirth through the red symbolism. And then the third main symbol that I work with is the downward facing or the inverted triangle. And so in this particular performance, I painted with my menstrual fluids on the egg, the inverted triangle, to really emphasize again all of these three elements together. And the inverted triangle is an ancient symbol of the vulva and vulvic powers in India, in Sumar, and it's believed to be the case in Neolithic and Paleolithic Old Europe too. There's lots of pottery remains and cave art, and with red ochre markings on triangles, downward facing triangles. So again, it's putting these three elements together to really help show how Mary Magdalene is this old Neolithic goddess for a modern world. Hey.
Beautiful. Yay. You're so like eloquent and just dazzling. I love watching you. You're just, even when you're just telling a story.
Oh, thanks.
It's amazing. And I love your take on the meaning of all those symbols, of the significance of Mary Magdalene's story, which is always, or was always being diminished by the church. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, the thing is that, there's a historical precedence of her being a bunch of the Marys in the Bible being conflated together, and and Pope Gregory the Great saying that Mary Magdalene was all of these people and that she was a prostitute. And because prostitution was so devalued in the Western tradition, and it's very complex, and I won't go into all the stuff about prostitution. It was a way to delegitimize her. Her power, her authority. We know 100% sure that she was a leader and a teacher, the apostle to the apostles. She was the first witness. Some people think that she was a priestess, that she taught Jesus his, wisdom and knowledge. So it's really kind of endless, right? So did I answer your question?
Yeah. And you had said something about just that, you saw her as really central to the story of Jesus' resurrection, not just a bystander.
Right.
Kind of how she's pictured as like, she just happens upon the thing and she just happens to be there.
Right.
Like,
Right. Well, that's the thing, because I think that, what by saying that she's a representative of that great goddess energy, she is life. I mean, she's the representative of all life. Like, all life forces move through her. And so in that dance between the feminine and masculine, she makes his resurrection possible in this interpretation. Because she embodies it and she facilitates it. And then I think there was another piece that you'd wanted me to speak to that I had mentioned in my original video. And that was around how she's also she's also the representative to help women reclaim their own power.
Yes.
Right. Right. Because again, it's, there's been so much projected onto her and used as a symbol to denigrate all women and keep women in their kind of place within Western history. And so when we do things like remythologize Mary Magdalene or see the goddess symbolism in her and project that onto her in the story, it's a way of helping to elevate and value all women, because I really see Mary Magdalene as an image of the every woman. Like, she comes to each of us in a way that we most need her to mirror our vulnerabilities, and she helps build us up and heal us through those vulnerabilities. So she can be anything and everyone. And my God, I'd love someone to talk about the every woman mirroring it in a man and what that looks like for a man. I'd love to see someone talk about that.
Yes, I would too. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Sure.
So if you all have questions, you could type them in. I'm going to start the channeling. And basically what happens during the channeling, I just kind of go into a really light, just relaxed, meditative trance state. And, my face and my voice don't change, something unnatural or weird. But it's basically like, we'll feel, and some of you might feel the goddess around you or within you. You might feel a warmth. Some people say they really feel something. Some people more just sense peace or a groundedness, or It could be any, or like bodily chills. Sometimes you might feel, sensations. So that's, I'm going to call her in today for Annalisa, but I'm sure whatever she has to tell Annalisa is going to be healing for all of us. So we're all going to share in this healing energy. So I'm just going to bring her candle back and asking for just the beauty and the power and the grace and the authenticity, the embodiment, the strength that she offers to women through her energy. I'm asking for her to please come through and grace us with her presence. Okay. So I really loved how she entered. It was almost like this red tornado of energy, like a red vortex of energy. And at first I didn't really see her, but I kind of saw her face. And then I saw her around you, Annalisa, and around your dissertation, and just like, even though it's not blood, but it's like this beautiful red mist kind of floating over you and over your dissertation. And I see you like in your defense. I'm just seeing all of it just unfold for you. And I feel like she's just full on gratitude to have you as a major spokesperson on the planet for, and for also growing the work of goddess. We can call it goddess spirituality, but goddess awareness, goddess consciousness. Let's see what else she has to say. And there's like, she's sprinkling rose petals like all over the world. Mm. And I feel like almost in a way, it's almost like breadcrumbs. Like she's like leading people to find sacred pilgrimage within first, but then finding it also out in the world. So maybe this is a calling to pilgrimage, a calling to sprinkle that beauty of goddess essence and goddess consciousness around, where you live, spreading it over the planet. Are you getting any images or feelings, Annalisa? Because I feel like she's sending you direct stuff too.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, was getting shivers and stuff. And, but that was the beginning. What you're talking about now was the beginning of my journey to Mary Magdalene. So it started out where she came to me in a meditation, and then I listened and I felt her as my guru, and I decided that I would surrender to her Shakti. I call it her Shakti, her life force energy. And she took me on pilgrimage to her sites in the south of France. And what I learned from that process was that my journey to her was really a journey to myself, and seeing myself through her eyes and healing myself through her eyes. And when I got back, it was like that was the initiation that I needed to even make the decision to go to graduate school. Mm-hmm. So I have maintained throughout this whole process that the journey to the goddess is really about a journey back to oneself, seeing oneself through the eyes of the goddess. And that is why I've called the YouTube channel Journey to the Goddess, because it's not just about journeying to the sites, but it's about journeying within.
The most important journey there is, right? The one we should be taking. Well, some people find that they'll go to a pilgrimage not really knowing really why they're being drawn there. So whatever direction, whether you start with the interior and then go to the exterior or vice versa, because I know the goddess definitely came to me in dreams and, just little things in life. And it wasn't until I actually took my sacred pilgrimage to Glastonbury that I was just like, whoa, okay, I get it now. I feel like this land embodies that energy, right?
Yes.
And we also know that at some point, Mary Magdalene, her daughter, and Joseph of Arimathea landed on those Celtic shores, and France, Brittany, and also the UK and Glastonbury. So there's so much amazing history, mythology, stories that weave through all these sites that you probably have gone to. And yeah, it's exciting work.
Yes, yes. And I think you brought up an important point too about the land, because there's something really regenerative about stepping on the land, like the sacred land that, belongs to a goddess, or where a goddess is worshipped. That in and of itself is super regenerative and potent.
Absolutely. And I love you have like little chimes in the background that are chiming like crazy. I was loving
I
that.
know. I know. I know.
Perfect timing.
I know, it's so perfect.
Yeah, she's here. So let me see if she has anything else to tell us. I'm like, is that right? Okay, well, I'm just going to say what I heard. And she's like, go forth into sacred union. I'm
Yeah.
just going to put it out there. So
Yeah.
find that sacred union between you and, your divinity, and then the divinity of another, right?
Yes. I mean, yes. Yeah, it's that inner journey, outward journey, It's that within and without. Always.
Yeah, and I'm seeing again that she's really also talking about sacred union, feminine, masculine, and also collaboration about, really connecting and seeing each other through the eyes of divinity, and not so much projecting onto everybody, which is, kind of the human condition, something that we do naturally. And I feel like she was kind of giving us that sort of recipe of how not to do that all the time, like how to step away from that and come into a new paradigm, which is, I think, what a lot of the goddess work is kind of ultimately pointing to, is
Right.
that we're in this transformative place where we're about to, go into this new paradigm. What do you think of that? What does that evoke for you?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I was like, oh my God, it's so hard not to project on other people, even when they're positive projections. It's like I had that experience over this weekend where I was like going in and out of like all of these projections on this person I just met. And then I would kind of like feel the unveiling of the projection and just see that person for who they were. And I felt this really deep love for another human being that wasn't romantic or sexual. It was just love for like that I thou relationship. So what I'm feeling is like, yes, I can't wait to keep working with that, because that felt so generative. Felt amazing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So I think we have some questions and some comments. Let's see if I can back. Okay, it looks like we have a question from Colleen. It says, how long did Mary Magdalene live, and what is a good book to read if we want to know more about her life?
Yeah. Um, as far as I know, we don't know much about her life, including how long she may or may not have lived. So that might be an inner an inner journey within to ask her. So again, it kind of depends on what direction you want to go on. If you, I like for some very concrete information on Mary Magdalene, you could do Karen King's book. I think it's called The Gospel of Mary Magdalene. For Christian mystic perspective, there's Cynthia Berjolt's The Meaning of Mary Magdalene. Um, what else? Those are the two that are coming to my head, but I'd be happy to come up with more and give them to you, Chris. I don't know, is there a way to post?
Yeah, we could definitely alter the post to add, you know,
Yeah,
anything you want to add to the presentation today.
right.
Um, and Martina said, she said one book, she's The Gospel of Mary Magdalene, translated by Joseph Rowe, Inner Traditions, 1997. So I think that's the one you were referring to as well.
Uh, that is one of them. There's also a Jean Leloup version of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which is really
Okay.
good. But again, it's a Christian mystic, but I like that. So yeah. So it depends on which kind of version of Mary Magdalene you want to know about.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to well, before I close out the ceremony and the space with Mary Magdalene, was there anything you wanted to ask her, and then I could come back with an answer?
Oh my goddess. Oh, I didn't. Let me just give me a moment to check in.
Sure, take your time. Seraphina.
I know, it's so cute. Maybe it has something to do with mom.
She's like, oops.
It's something about womb, like how can we help women heal their wombs, not their relationships to their wombs, and also the inner workings of their wombs.
Okay. Interesting. She's showing like the waves of the ocean. And I'm hearing also salt water. So there's something about, you know, and that makes sense. You know, if we think of the inside of the womb, when a woman's pregnant, it's all, you know, amniotic fluid, it's salt, it's like salt water. I feel like, you know, almost like you know, I don't know much about, you know, any sort of like vaginal, like washing or vaginal, was it yoni steaming and things like that. But I feel like that's kind of what she's referring to, like really a ritualistic cleansing, like maybe where you're just squatting in like a bathtub of you know, really beautiful, like Himalayan salt or something, like something really, you know, or, you know, getting ocean water and putting it in your tub or something where you can immerse yourself and really, and I feel like it's more of, you're not like douching or something. It's more like inviting it in to the vaginal canal, inviting it into the womb. And so it's not like you're just, you know what I mean, forcing it. It's
Yeah,
about an invitation is what she's showing me, to just a remembrance of the original like life where you came from, and almost renewing that way, like rebirthing your womb space is what I'm hearing from her. I think that sounds really cool, like creating a ritual out of that.
yeah. I'm.
Maybe for the new moon in Cancer, which is you know, it's a water sign. That's July 9th. It's Friday. So maybe I'll try that.
I was thinking about Yemaya too as you were talking, and I think
Yeah,
you have a relationship with Yemaya, right? She's
very
one of
close.
your. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I did very, very small, the initial initiation in Candomblé for Yemaya. So she's been with me since I was, well, probably since forever, but I really became more aware of her when I was like 18 or 19 years old, and didn't understand the significance until I went to Pacifica and I was writing my dissertation, and part of it was about Yemaya. So, and they call her Yemanja there. But there's, you know, there's something about women and ritual. I'm not saying it's, you know, men in ritual obviously fabulous too, but I think we have so few rituals, and you know, which is another reason why I really appreciate your work. And so I'm going to close down the our connection to Mary Magdalene, so we close the circle.
Mhm.
And then I want to go and talk about your latest works and what you're up to. But
Thanks.
I hope that helps everybody. And yeah, I love this idea of the ritual. So I'm just going to say I'm so grateful to Mary Magdalene. I'm grateful for your advice, for your very potent and present ritual instructions. It was very beautiful, and it was very yeah, the energy felt really powerful and strong, but it did feel like it was flowing and moving and had its own vortex. She has this really special weaving into our bodies and connection to our bodies, probably particularly to our womb and to our menstrual blood. So with that, I close down our spiritual sacred connection to Mary Magdalene with gratitude.
Ave Magdalena, as
Ave
Dr. People would
Magdalene.
say.
I love that. Beautiful. Thank you. So tell us about your latest work. And I know you're the embodiment of the Magdalene on a beautiful oracle deck. So if you want to show us, that'd be wonderful.
Yes. So this oracle deck just debuted a few weeks ago. It's called Goddess on Earth Oracle, and by Lisa Lavart. And this actually collaboration between me and her. She photographs women as goddesses of their choice. And this collaboration was actually the beginning of my menstrual art performances. And so she, like I said, photographed me as Mary Magdalene. This is the card. And the wisdom is the body knows. And so initially, um, I had planned on wearing a white dress that I had sewn flowers on the bottom, and I wanted it to look like as she walked across the desert, the flowers were growing up her dress, like imbuing in her the regenerative symbolism. And then the night before, I was looking at some images of these pre-monotheistic goddesses. Sorry, there's a plane. Of these pre-monotheistic goddesses from the Near East and the Paleolithic era, and they're all really really self-possessed in their sensuality and their feminine power, and they're nude and they look directly at the viewer. Sometimes there's a little bit of movement, but they're all like just totally. There's nothing shy or like hyper erotic in our idea of erotic about them. Um, and so I was like, oh, I have to photograph Mary Magdalene nude to give her that power to, put on the female gaze onto her and reclaim feminine sensuality from a feminine perspective, from a woman's perspective. And so that's how that came about.
Beautiful. Anything else you want them to know about that you're working on or
Please check out Journey to the Goddess TV. I did 4 interviews with Chris. So you can watch all of those videos.
That's
I
amazing.
know. And I still have other ideas of conversations I'd like to have with you. So we'll see in the future. But please check out Journey to the Goddess TV. I do lots of interviews with goddess scholars and artists, etc. I'm trying to grow that and expand that to help spread goddess consciousness, as you're talking about, out into the world. And I also have a newsletter that link on my YouTube page as well. So then you can kind of keep up to date with the other things that are happening, like workshops. When I'm done with graduate school, I'll go straight into doing workshops. So anyhow.
We can't wait. Hopefully you'll lead us on some pilgrimages too, since you've been to the pilgrimages, the pilgrim sites.
Maybe next year, maybe. If I can make that happen next year, that'd be great. Yeah.
Fantastic. And you still have a Patreon group that people can join.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. So I have a Patreon. It's Journey to the Goddess on Patreon. And it's a tiered membership that starts at $3 a month, the triple goddess. And there's different, you get different benefits like behind the scenes footage. There's different goddess products, cool postcards. I mean, there's a lot of different benefits. So I would be thrilled if anyone wants to become a Patreon member as well. Join the community. Thanks, Chris.
Many will. So thank you for sharing your amazing beauty with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I just love
I know
talking
I'm
about
still
this.
getting chills. I don't know. It's pretty wild. That's pretty.
Yeah. I mean, her energy is potent. I can imagine, like, maybe through the new moon on the 9th, we'll be like feeling her vibes. Okay,
I'm ready.
we should
I'm
text.
ready.
We should like message each other once we've done our ritual on the
Yes.
9th.
Yes,
Yeah,
I know. I
everyone
was
else
like,
too.
okay, I go to the ocean, get my water, get ready to go. And we have some beautiful, um, Martina, I love this. She said, invagination, deluge the fold. I don't know. I'd have to look that up. Beautiful though. Yeah, Martina's amazing scholar as well and dancer. And I love what she said, Ari, deep knowing, the body is a way of deep knowing. Yes, 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 yes. And
Yes.
Colleen has to say, love this. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, wisdom, and insight. So,
Thanks, everybody.
so
Oh,
appreciated. And,
yeah.
when you're done with the dissertation, you're ready to your pilgrimage, we'll have you back on and
Okay,
talk about
perfect.
other things. Like, there's so much we could talk about. So, we'll
Yes,
figure.
I know. I know. I know. I still want to catch you and talk to you about mermaids. So
Yes.
to be continued. I found some mermaids here that play music at events. So I know. Anyway,
Cool.
okay.
Blessings to you all and happy new moon in Cancer in a couple of days.
Thank you,
Mwah.
Chris. Thank you
Thank
for all
you.
your wisdom and your beauty in shedding the consciousness, the goddess consciousness. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Beautiful.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
Thanks.
I'll see you next time.